Welcome or welcome back to my book channel. My name is Lauren from Lady Lauren Explorer, and today I'm going to be doing or talking about the 23 for 23. That is basically giving you recommendations for the trend that's going on about reading 23 books by BIPOC authors with BIPOC main characters as the forefront, for the rest of 2023. I know it's kind of on short notice, but I think we can get this done. I have some great recommendations, and I've read every single one of these recommendations that I'm giving you, so I like them. I will have 2 controversial readings in here that you can skip if these tropes aren't what you want to read, but I did like these books, and I also think that they also have a space in the romance world as well. So let me get started with the books I have in front of me. Then I'll get to the controversial books. Then I'll get to the ebooks that I have that I want to have physical copies of, but I don't have physical copies of. I just read them on KU. My first recommendation is by Antoinette Roberts. This is Make Me Believe You. This is a marriage in trouble that was led from infidelity. And basically this whole entire book is our hero, Andrew, groveling. I love our heroine. She's a mom. I won't call her a single mom because even though they're separated and on the cusp of divorce that she wants, she is strong for her son. She was strong for the marriage. It was like, this was really good. The spice is okay, but the angst and the heartfeltness that you experience with her is so good. It's amazing. I like it. I don't know how come people aren't talking about it a lot, but this is a great marriage in trouble romance. Next is Mila Nix, and this is for vacation only. This is a forced proximity, I guess like grumpy sunshine trope as well. Our hero, he was about to get married, and he got stood up at the altar. He decides to just go on his honeymoon by himself on this cruise ship, and our heroine is a cruise ship singer. She decides to help him get the stick out of his bum and have fun, just experience something spontaneous, and they both fall in love. The thing about it is she is a cruise ship singer. He's from a very affluent and wealthy 1% family. Yeah, they live in a bubble on the cruise ship, and then reality hits them. There is a 3rd act breakup in here because of things, but they do get back together as HEA. So I like this. It was really good. It was really fun. It's a nice heartfelt one. The angst does get you in the end, but I love that. Next is Fade to Blue by Andrea Hopkins. This is the 2nd book in a series, so this follows a different brother. But Fade to Blue, he's an NBA player, and he's leaving his town. He's leaving his team to get away from his first love, who is married to his brother. Things have happened because in the first book you see that happening, and it's just the offshoot of it. You can't read this as standalone because it tells you what's happening, why he's doing this, what led up to him doing this in the book, so you don't have to actually read the first book to understand. But he's basically trying to just get away from the heartache that he will be having when he sees his love being with his little brother. That thing you get when you don't want to hurt your little brother, don't want to hurt your sibling, don't want to hurt your family member because they are passionately in love with the person you're in love with as well. And the person that you love doesn't love you the same way you feel about them. They feel the familial connection, not the the passion that you feel for them. So he meets our heroine just randomly at an airport. They were supposed to have a spontaneous hookup in the airport. And as our heroine, leaves to go wait for him in the bathroom so they can, hook up, she leaves her phone and he finds out that this woman that he's very, very attracted to is the publicist for his brother. And he decides that he doesn't want to do that. So that leaves them in a very strange place when they meet again when he hires her to be his publicist. This is a single parent romance. She's a single mom. And when the child gets introduced to him, it's just so cute and sweet. I totally love this book. This was like really great. The spice is, again, like on a scale of like 1 to 5 is like a 3. But the story is so great. And there is angst in here because she also is insecure about his relationship with his first love. So next is Draythi Ennis, and this is the 5,000 Nights of Obsession. This is a Twisted Gatsby retelling. This is really, really nice. I love this. Love it. So our hero and heroine meet. She is from a very traditional Indian family. They're about to have a wedding. She's the rebellious one of the family. So she decides that at rehearsal, something happens at rehearsal where she decides to just walk off and do her own thing for this one rebellious moment again before she, I think, has to settle down and understand that it's her family's tradition and she's going to go along with it, but she wants to have one last hurrah. And she meets our hero. They have a day and night of just spontaneous fun, exploring. She realizes that she could fall in love with him, and he realizes that he is in love with her for this whole entire day. She leaves him with something that he takes with him for the rest of his life. And that starts his obsession. He becomes this very famous singer, and he throws these lavish parties when he becomes famous because he's trying to get her to come to his events. He's trying to figure out if someone in her realm, which they're kind of in the same realm, she is a writer, a music writer. He's trying to get someone in her world to have her come to his house. And finally, after years and years of doing these lavish parties and becoming bigger and bigger and not finding her, she finally comes with her husband. So this is infidelity trope in here because she is married and he does not care. And this is dark because he, again, does not care and he will do anything to make her his. He does things like break into her house while she's asleep and, SAs her. There's some very twisted things going on in the background. We find out some great bombshells that we didn't know or think about. It's so good and very dark, and I loved it. Next is Cherish and Simon. This is the first year. There's 4 books in this series. This is the first book, and this is by Eva Moran and Madeline Watson. This first book is the slow start. There actually isn't any romance that happens. This is just the part of grieving. So our heroine, she's been dumped at the hospital where she had just given birth by her boyfriend. He has just left her and his daughter at the hospital, and he won't be coming to pick them up. He just abandoned them. And Simon, his wife just passed away while giving birth to their son. They actually know each other because all 3 of them, 4, including Cherish's boyfriend, were at the hospital during these months of being pregnant and ran into each other. So they kind of know each other's story. And Simon knows Cherish's boyfriend is very bad for her and all that kind of stuff. So CPS is about to get called because she doesn't have anyone to pick her and the baby up. And he decides to take them in because, well, first off, Cherish is just a new mother. So she also has she's going to be there for the child and also the milk. So he decides, hey, could you also take care of my child? I'm also grieving the loss of my wife. That leads to family situations where the family thinks that Cherish is his mistress or was his mistress because the baby kind of looks like a mixed baby and sort of looks like Simon. But that's not actually how it is. Like, Simon is not the father of this child. But this first month is them cohabiting, getting through grief, growing with each other, and you slowly start to see that they go from like acquaintances to friendship, and that friendship just becoming stronger and stronger and stronger. And the last 2 chapters is the switch from a friendship to exploring each other. Once you get past this year, the first year, because it ends, I'm just going to tell you, it ends on a kiss, and then them realizing that they want to see where their love can go. Then it goes to year 2, which is when they experience being a couple. There's also family drama coming into this, and then there is other woman drama, more family drama, and then other woman drama. So it goes for 4 years, and it's a journey. But once you get past, because this is the slowest one, but if you can get past get the emotional connection with them, then 2 will be the best one. Like, I love 2 so much, but this one was really good, and the formatting is a little bit weird, but let me show you 2. 2 is so much better, and 2 is my favorite, and then 4 is my favorite too. So yes. Next we have my tried and true Marriage in Trouble and Amnesia. This is one of the only Amnesia ones I really, really like, and that's Forgive Me Not by QB Tyler. This is so good because also it has one of my favorite tropes in it, Marriage in Trouble with infidelity. There is some trigger warnings in here. Read the trigger warnings because if you deal with I don't want to ruin it, but if you deal with things that have pertain to pregnancy, this might not be what the book for you. But this is our hero. He gets into a car accident and he forgets the last 2 years of his life. So he still thinks he's married to our heroine. And they're actually just they're days. It's almost 2 or 3 weeks away from being divorced. So in this story, we as the readers are trying to figure out why they're getting divorced, what led up to the infidelity, and him trying to regain his memories of why he did this, because he's been devoted, he's been loyal. What made him do this to the love of his life? I truly love this book. Love this book to death. This is so, so good. I'm just saying. And the spice in here is just 2. We have The Princess Trap by Talia Hibbett. This is a royal fake marriage trope. Our heroine meets a prince while she's working. She doesn't know he's a prince at this time, and they have off the wall chemistry. They decide that they want to do, just hook up. Just, get some good in. Just get some good in. But on the way to her apartment for this great hookup, they get ambushed by paparazzi. And he, as the prince who's been in a lot of controversial things, scandals about his love life and what he represents to his country, and his brother being the king, and how this affects his country in general, he decides to tell the paparazzi that the reason why you can't take pictures of her, because if she wasn't a part of the royal family, they could take pictures of her, is because this is his fiance. So you can't take pictures of the royal family without permission. So they have to fake get engaged, and it's so good. There is some trigger warnings in here that pertains to his brother being very abusive. Our hero, he is bi, and his scandalous past is basically his lifestyle of what he's into kink wise that has been put publicly out in the space that has made this a scandal, versus like if someone else would just say what they did in the privacy of their own bedroom, then just saying it would have been okay. But because a scorned lover has broadcast his bedtime activities, it's a scandal. They do fall in love, and it's really, really good. Tiffany Ashley's love script. This is a fake marriage as well, but this is also a boss and employee in Forks Prox, because our hero is trying to sink this deal. And in order to sink this deal, he tells the person that he's making a deal with that he's married, and they're supposed to be going on a honeymoon because the person's going on a honeymoon with his wife. His rival also says that he's married and they're going to go out on his honeymoon. And they're like, hey, like, let's all just meet together on this cruise. So he needs to have a wife. He asks one of his friends, one of his FWBs, and she says that she can't be his fake wife because she's in love with him. And in order for her to do this, she wants to be in a relationship with him, and he does not do relationships. Not at all. He's like, okay, well, I have to let you go, and I guess I'm going to do this by myself. While he's boarding, he sees this woman who works at his office, but he doesn't think anything of it. He just sees her. So keep that in mind. And then he meets the person he wants to make a deal with, and notices that his wife, that person's wife, is Black. He then asks like the person that wants to make the deal, where's his wife? And he's like, he points to our heroine and says, well, she's over there. I'll introduce you guys later. She's just trying to, get to our room. And so he walks over to her and asks to play along, and she kind of plays along, but basically they strike up a deal. She will be his fake wife while they're on this cruise, and then he will incentivize things that she wants at the workplace because she's a hard worker, and some of her workings are getting taken credit for by her boss and other people in the workplace. During this whole entire cruise, he's slowly chipping away at his own heart when it comes to her, but he is all about this deal, and she's noticing it, and she is understanding that like he's using her not to fall in love with him, all that kind of stuff. This is angsty a little bit towards the end because I felt her on some things, and it was just but he does grovel once he gets his act together, and I love that. Constance Gillum, the Hookup Dilemma. This one is super funny because this is a hookup that turned to love. So on his birthday, our hero decides to just like do something for his birthday. He's working at his family's company as a architect, I think. And he was working late. He decides to go across the street and just have a happy birthday drink. He meets our heroine, who went into his building to speak to his father, but no one was there. So she decides to go across the street and just chill, prepare for what's about to happen in a couple of weeks. They see each other. They have this good chemistry. She decides to just take it in her own hands and ask him to dinner and a nightcap. That nightcap was just so good, but she also knows that this is a one-night stand, and there's nothing that's supposed to come about a one-night stand. He knows it's a one-night stand, but he wants more after spending time with her. But again, she leaves. But she leaves never to be seen again, or so we think. It turns out the reason why she was going into his father's building is because his father is trying to gentrify her grandmother's neighborhood, the neighborhood she grew up in, a historically Black neighborhood, and he's trying to gentrify it. His father gets sick and can't take over the project, so he tasked his son, our hero, to take over the project. So she then realizes that she was sleeping with the enemy. He doesn't see it that way. He's not part of this business like that. He does not want this. He wants to love her. He's falling in love with her. She's falling in love with him, but her priorities are I'm not about to let love ruin my childhood. I'm not about to let love overtake me and my priorities and where I stand morally. And basically, it's just her fighting this attraction and him persisting that no matter what happens, that he wants to be with her, all that kind of stuff. There is some backlash because his father is a Grinch. Her grandmother is hilarious. Super hilarious. I love this. This is very funny. I think of it as like a rom-com steamy. Just saying. Then we have Truly by Kamel Rhodes. This is a dark bully romance. It's Forks Prox, and it has a road trip aspect of it. Our hero is the ex-boyfriend of our heroine, who we find out is very much into her. He is very persistent with wanting her, and she is trying to navigate losing her boyfriend, having him dump her on graduation day, while also having his brother just like ruin the road trip that her and her best friend were supposed to be on, and then fighting this attraction towards him. This was so good and very spicy. Our hero, he is morally gray at first. Their interaction begins again. Their animosity has begun before the book, but he does set this book off with a essay on her, and he's like a Carter but redeemable. He does become redeemable towards the end of the book, but that journey is a lot, and he is definitely crazy, definitely possessive, and definitely in love with her. But I love this. This is a special edition, and I love it. I have so many editions of that book. It's all right there. The next recommendation is Overdosed by Ravensand Perry. This is such a good one. There's so much I can talk about this. This is super spicy. So this is crazy. Our heroine is separated and almost divorced from her husband. They are both therapists. He's a child and trauma therapist, and she is a sex therapist. They both have built a clinic together, so they're both forced to be with each other at this clinic. Our hero is a psychiatrist who has a sex addiction, so he gets outsourced to her, and it's a instant attraction for both of them. She tries to fight it because that's forbidden, a little bit taboo to be in a relationship with your patient, and him is just sex addiction. This does turn from a sex addiction to a focus on her and only wanting to have sex with her. But there's something going on in the background that you notice for brief moments that just keep adding on to things. And then it hits a head. Out of nowhere, everything changes. Everything. And you're just like, wait, what? I can't tell you what it is, but that bombshell and what happens after that bombshell is wild. I never thought about it. I did not see it coming. But this is great. 5 out of 5 on Spice though, because this is crazy. They're having some good times. Good times, the tension, the banter. I loved every bit of it. Then we have In the Grave by B.B. Reed. This is this is a Black love romance. Both characters are Black. The thing about this one is this also has a mystery suspense kind of thing going on, because our heroine, she's in town. She's in this environment where she meets our hero because she was brought there from a letter, an anonymous letter that has her thinking and wondering where she's came from. She meets our hero, Rowdy. She meets our hero, Rowdy, and let me tell you, that is instant. lust for both of them. Both. She tries to fight it, and she's very sassy, and he is I want it, I'ma get it, and I will talk to you all kinds of crazy kind of thing. Their banter is crazy. They are kind of like, he's kind of toxic, and I love that. I love that. But there is something going on in the background of like someone is trying to get her to unearth some things to Rowdy and his crew, but she does not know what she's trying to unearth besides who her family is. She's trying to find her family. And Rowdy and his crew have something to do with that. So the letter says. This was really, really good. This is like 3.75 on Spice. A lot of hand necklaces, a lot of non-penetrative sex, a lot of greatness, and I loved every minute of it. Also, our heroine has vitiligo, so that's why our cover model has vitiligo. Love it. Yes. This is the alternative cover. I have almost every cover of it besides the hardback. I have the 3D foil, the regular, and I need to get the hardback because it's the alternative. But I love it. Then we have Quarantine and Chill by Kenya Wright. This is so good. This is so good. This happens during C19, so it's Forks Prox, because our heroine is dog sitting and apartment sitting for her best friend who just got married and is in the honeymoon in the UK. And her brother forgets that our heroine's at his sister's apartment, but he's going there to get away from his cheating ex-girlfriend. Exes when he leaves that apartment that he shares with her. They have like a little tension together. This is also, you can see, this is best friend's brother. They have an attraction towards each other, but because of their situation of like, that's his sister's best friend and that's her best friend's older brother, there's nothing they could like do. They wanted to be respectful of that. But being forced together because of C19 has settled in. And again, he just broke up with his girlfriend. And so things happen. I love this. This was so lighthearted. There is some trigger warnings in here because his ex-girlfriend is an addict, and things happen towards the end where I really wish that she got help before everything popped off the way that it did. But I truly love this. This was a great story, and this does have not safe for work images in it. Just saying. Ooh, Sapphire's Black Brother series, but this is the first one in the series called Wyatt the Heartbreaker. This is a reformed playboy, just saying. All of the brothers have a relationship with a woman of color, whether it is Black, African, it's just an Indian, it's just a woman of color. All of the brothers have a relationship with a woman of color. That's what the series is basically dealing with. But Wyatt, he is a reformed playboy in this because he does not have relationships. He does not form connections. He does not have a girlfriend. He just has flings. And those flings get him back during the beginning of this book. It's hilarious how they do it, but it's also very scarring if I was in that situation. I'm just saying. But he decides that he wants to take a break from being in a relationship, being in a sexual relationship with anyone, and focus on him because of what happened to him. Lo and behold, our heroine comes in, and she is also a family friend. She's been his younger brother's best friend for the longest, and she's also used to have a crush on him. She's running away from her abusive boyfriend who has family and connections in higher places. So it's a lot going on. He is like the protector. He gets to know her first before getting to know her body. And because of that, he starts to fall in love with her. This is so good. And he does have a piercing. He has a Jacob's ladder, which this was the first time I actually had to I had to look it up because I was wondering how this, when they described it to me, how it looked, because I was trying to picture how did that fit in her from what you just described, how does that fit, and then how do you take it off and on, in and out, how do you yeah. So I had to look for it myself. But yes, this is really good. Next, we have Simone West. This is the first book in a series, but this book is a duet. The first two books are duets, Steps and Risk. And then First is the last book, but it does not have anything to do with the characters. So Steps, if you couldn't tell, is a stepbrother relationship or romance. They start off on a very bad front in this book, because he is realizing that she is about to be his stepsister and is his stepsister. He does not like her. She does not like him. They both find each other just unappealing. It's just very enemies to lovers kind of thing. But as they get to know each other, he starts falling for her and vice versa. But they have to hide the relationship because they're step-siblings. Things do happen. There is this kind of lighthearted on that front. There is no big angst when it comes to the relationship, but the family dynamic is where everything hits hard and becomes more angsty, because their relationship tears apart their family dynamic, and they have to then just be okay with that. And that leads to the second book. This was so good. There is some spicy scenes in here, and there is some spicy scenes in the second book. And the second book is them continuing on their relationship, and her being in college. But that also has to do with her father. That book is heavy on her rebuilding her relationship with her father's side of the family, because things get revealed in this book. Then we have Alex Rods, I hope I said that right. The Girl with Stars in Her Eyes. I know this is a women's fiction book. There is romance in here. It's doesn't really it's sprinkled throughout. If in the beginning, if you squint, you look, but then as the book continues on, you start to see the romance rekindle itself, and then there is the romance towards the end of the book. But the main premise of the book is our heroine finding her voice, finding herself, pushing past this heartache that she is dealing with when she meets or gets reintroduced to the boy that broke her heart when they were younger, and her becoming a star in her own right. Love this book. It's very slow. I reread this book and I thought this book was, at first this book was a 5 for me, but now that I have settled into how I like my 5s to be, this is a 4 now, mainly because the romance isn't the topic of discussion in this book, because it's her journey to rebuilding herself and setting up for herself, and basically just finding herself in this world with the boy she's in love with. I hope it makes sense. So that's what it was to me. But I did enjoy it on reread, so yes. Then we have Twisted Love by Anna Hong. This is a brother's best friend romance age gap. I don't think it's that big of an age gap, but it is an age gap. And I loved it. This is the Steamy Lit edition of it. I have the complete series for Steamy Lit, but I love this. There is so much good in here. There's so much things to talk about in here, whether it's him being very grumpy. He's so grumpy. And her getting past her fear and him teaching her how to swim, because that's her fear, swimming. Then we have her past that's very traumatic, that gets brung up and then resolved because it's crazy, but also their love. But you also see the other pair's love in this too, like her best friend and her brother, her older brother. That's twisted hate. Another best friend who is a princess and her bodyguard. Just saying. That's twisted games. So yeah, come on. Yeah. I love this. This was really good. And I'm pretty sure that you probably already read it. Then we have Aaron's Patience by Tiffany Patterson. This is a second chance romance and a secret children trope. Oh, and it's age gap. Our heroine is from an affluent family, but she loves reading. Reading is her thing. She happens to meet our hero. I think she's 14 and he's like 21. One day at a meeting that her father and his father have put together towards each other, just like hash out things in the business. As time goes on, her and our hero, Aaron, become more closer. And when she's 19, their relationship turns from a friendship, flirting type thing to an actual relationship that he's pursuing her. We later find out, as months go on, that he has a fiance because the fiance runs into her house looking for him. They, our heroine and him, have a tiff, and he says some things that he later regrets, and she moves away. Years later, she meets him again in a city where she's having a librarian conference because she's a librarian. And her best friend decides that, hey, you need to go out. You need to like live life. Your children aren't here. Just do something spontaneous with me. And also meet my fiance. So they go to a sex club where her fiance is. And who happens to be at the sex club? Aaron. Aaron sees her. He knows who she is. And he is now a dog trying to get her. They spend one more night together. And he lets her go. Well, she runs away. He knows he's going to get her. He just needs to take the time and actually do it. Long story short, a few weeks later, they meet again because something happens in both their lives that put them in this situation where they meet again. And who does he run into? His children. So he blackmails her. He says, I won't fight you for custody of my children that you never told me about if you marry me. But if you don't marry me, I will fight for custody and you won't see your children ever again. Obviously, she chooses marriage. So, yeah. It's so good. But there is something going on in the background in here because someone has a stalker. And that stalker does not like the change that's about to happen in this person's life, in one of their lives. And it comes to a head. I love this book. I love this more because I read their son's book first. And I was like, oh my gosh, like their parent situation from how I learned about the parents was crazy. I really want to know if their parents have a book. And this is the parents' book. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely reading this because how the son was acting in his book, which is a Black love book, this was crazy. Then we have Evelyn Sola. This is Takeoff. This is the third book in a 3-book series that's interconnected, but you can read it by itself if you want to. I read this series backwards. So this is the first book I actually read, and I love this book more than I love the other two. But how my order goes is this is like my first one. 5 stars. Book 2, which is Takeoff, I have over there, is a 4-star, and then book 1, which is Takeover, is 3.5 stars. This is a single father romance. He is a NBA player. He is best friends with our heroine's fiance, who is a billionaire. They actually, her sister and her fiance live in the same building as each other. Heroine's sister's fiance's child is best friends with this hero's child. So that's how they interact. Our heroine has decided to take a break from dating because of things that are happening and how dates are going. And also, her ex-fiance is back in town and wants to rekindle something, and she's just not having it because of what went on when they were together. She just wants to just do her, be her, live her best life, and call it a day. But he is not letting this happen. She has 3 simple rules. First rule, don't date single fathers. Second rule, don't date athletes. And third rule, don't date outside her race. He's about to break all these rules for her. This is so, so good. So funny. He's very persistent. He is not letting up on her. He's slowly chipping away at her guarded wall around her heart. And you do see like the family dynamic, because the family dynamic is crazy and I love it. There is some angst in here because they're dealing with a family dynamic, a family that's kind of splintered off because of their mother, their biological mother. They're dealing with that aspect, especially her. She has some deep-rooted feelings about her biological mother and how her biological mother acts in their lives as an adult now. But this was really, really good. The spice is good too. I love this. Obviously because I have this on my book wish list and someone bought it for me. So yes. These next 2 physical books are kind of controversial in what they represent in their books. I do want to preface that. I know some of the stuff that I'm about to say in these books may make people uncomfortable and not want to read them, but I read them and I enjoyed them, and I just, it's a guilty pleasure of mine. I like romance, I like dark romance, and sometimes some people don't find these books to be consumable. So the first book is Maverick's Madness by Lorraine Allen. This book is a dark bully romance. Our hero comes from a racist family. His father is the mayor. His father is racist. He feels pressured to be racist because of his upbringing, but he does not think the way his father does in real life. But it has to be perceived that way. I think I just should read you the summary because I think it says it all. Maverick's bigoted father raised him to be racist. The moment he sees me, the biracial new girl, an invisible target is placed on my back. Before the first day of school, he turns most of the senior class against me. Maverick thinks I will roll over, take his abuse, never anticipating a battle. He's mistaken. I will fight until my last breath. Maverick and his friends can suck it. When I don't fold under pressure, he comes at me full force wanting to destroy me. He never expected to be the one to fold. So yes, this does have a racial undertone to it. If you find that you can find redeemable qualities in someone who used to be racist, then Maverick is redeemable to you. He's dark. And you slowly start to realize that, like, yes, he's been raised this way, but he even, because it's dual perspective, he even talks about, like, liking and knowing that he likes a different race, but knowing that if he says anything or tries to do anything that okays this race, his father will react and has consequences. And those consequences are very devastating because his father is very, very, very abusive. I'm talking has a room of torture. That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. It's crazy how his father is. Maverick is also dark. There is lots of dub-com, non-com aspects in here that he does. He makes her life a living hell sexually. And sometimes she's here for it, sometimes she's not. This is crazy, but I thoroughly enjoyed every aspect of it. Then we have Regina Smith's Love Fumbles. This is a romance that happens during the 1960s, so you know that undertone to it. This is very filled with a whole bunch of just trigger warnings when it comes to bigoted things, racist things, lots of clan things. But I did enjoy this because it showed what my older generation, like my grandmother and my great grandmother, would have been going through during these times. And reading about it, even though it's fictional, made me uncomfortable because that it wasn't that long ago that 1960s were here. So it just shows like a range of like, oh my gosh, like I like this happened. The things that were happening in this book that were talked about, that were said, that people were doing, were happening, and people found it to be okay for that to happen. But also you had this type of couple, a white man and a black woman, or vice versa, trying to navigate this world where their love cannot be because of the town they grew up in or the people around them, their own family, society as a whole not wanting, and then the racial aspects of everything being together. So if you can handle that, because it's trigger warnings in here because it's crazy, but it's also like there's real aspects of it because I've known for it to be happening because my grandmother, even my uncles have told me things that happened when they were growing up. So like, yeah, I know things have happened. I know things, some of the stuff isn't real, but can be based off a real event. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Then we have A Bit of Hate by T. St. James. This book is I want to say like a fantasy, like a paranormal monster fantasy. Our heroine is very sassy. She is crazy sassy. I love our heroine. She throws things down. And our hero is very grumpy. Super grumpy, but he's also an incubus. So like who's been living for a long time. He used to be a Viking. So like I think he has opportunity to be grumpy. And it's just the enemies to lovers romance that turns into so much more. There is so much going on in here. This does have a polyamory aspect of it because even though our two characters are together as soulmates, in the end, they can't have a monogamy in the relationship because they're incubuses, because they feed off sex. So they have to have multiple partners to feed them, but they still are soulmates. So keep that in mind. But this series just started. I read the first one and the second one just came out. I want to say when I'm filming this is August 31st. Came out, I think, on Tuesday previous. So I can't read the second book because it seems nice, especially since like the cliffhanger of like what that mystery that happened at the end of this book would mean for the second book. Love it. But basically our heroine does something when she becomes an incubus that sets off a chain of events with vampires and werewolves. And our hero and his family and his team have to fight this, combat this before all-out war starts off. And it's great. There's so much spice in here. This is a 5 out of 5 for spice. I'm letting you know this book is 5 out of 5 for spice. There's so much spice that's going on in here, and I loved every aspect of it. So I'm just saying it's great. Just saying. And last but not least is Wicked Games by Chantel Davis. I've read, I think, 3 books by Chantel Davis, and all of them are great, but I can't put them all in there because I wanted to do one book by different authors. So I'm going to choose Wicked Games. Wicked Games is a reverse age gap. Our heroine has just got done with from being in a very domestic abusive relationship. She is, like I said, divorced. She's living with her younger sister that she actually took care of. Like, she took care of this girl who is telling her, hey, since you have something to say about my boyfriend who keeps eating all your food that you make, you gotta get out. You have 60 days to get out. I'm giving you 60 days, but you have to get out since you want to comment on my relationship. And our heroine was like, oh, okay, like, I took care of this girl. She's going to put me out over a dude that keeps eating all the food that I'm making, knowing that I don't have that much money to be spending and splurging on someone eating all the food that I'm making. And who won't contribute. Like, at least if he contribute, give me some money for the food I make, I would be okay. But he's not. So she decides, you know what? Perfect revenge. I am going to have sex with your boyfriend. Perfect revenge. And it starts with a chain of events. The thing about it is, he don't want her sister. And everything that we knew about her sister and his relationship isn't what it seems. So what's going on? Because he is after her. And you see it. It's so good. I love the revenge aspect of it, because like I got hit with a bombshell at the end of the book when she just starts spilling out the things that she's known for a while, and it becomes super crazy. And I was like, you held all that in, sis? You held all that in? No, I would not. I would not do that. Never in my life. I wouldn't do that to my sister. I wouldn't do that. Whoa, this is crazy. That bombshell was crazy. I didn't see it coming. This was good. This was a great kind of revenge kind of thing, but not really, because she also has a conscience. And she realizes that she doesn't want to hurt her sister like that, even though her sister's hurting her. Couldn't be me. But yes, that is it. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope I gave you some books that you haven't heard of, that I enticed you to read some of these books by BIPOC authors that have BIPOC characters in it. And comment down below some books that have BIPOC characters by BIPOC authors, so we can all just, add them on our TBR to read. But my name is Lauren. I hope you all have a wonderful day, evening, night, wherever you are. I post a video Monday, Wednesday, Friday, sometimes Sunday, so please be subscribed so you can get notified when I have uploaded. I know this is a long one, but I just wanted to shout this out because it's a great challenge to do. And even if it isn't a challenge that you can finish with it by the end of 2023, you still have some books that you can add to your TBR that you might like. But I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!
Tuning like Looney. We about to take over Fox Hill soon out of school, but I'm cool and I'm back and I'm too lit. You waxy, I'll pick out the trash like raccoon.